Walking towards freedom, a Buddha reflection. Have you ever noticed that some pain becomes heavier the harder you try to put it down? I have. There were moments when sitting still only made the mind louder. Memories repeated themselves. Questions had no answers. The heart felt full of something it could neither hold nor release. Then I discovered something the Buddha understood deeply. Sometimes healing does not begin with solving pain. Sometimes it begins with taking a single step. In this reflection, I want to explore why walking has been practiced for centuries as more than movement. How a simple step can steady a restless mind, soften grief without denying it, and reveal a quiet freedom hidden inside ordinary experience. So if your heart has been carrying something heavy, walk with me for a little while. Perhaps the next step has something to teach us. The weight that will not sit still. There are moments when grief feels too large for stillness. You sit in a quiet room, hoping time alone will soften the ache. Yet the mind continues to circle the same memories, the same questions, the same absence. The body becomes restless, the heart feels heavy, and beneath everything sits a quiet confusion. You want relief, yet every attempt to escape the pain seems only to tighten its grip. I have noticed this in my own life. Sometimes sorrow does not arrive as tears. It arrives as pacing, as exhaustion, as an inability to settle anywhere for very long. The Buddha understood this movement of the mind. He saw how suffering often deepens when we resist its presence, when we demand that grief leave before it is ready. Like a river pressing against a dam, sorrow pushes harder when it is denied. But when space is given, when movement is allowed, something begins to change. Not because the grief disappears, but because it no longer needs to fight for recognition. The Buddha pointed toward a simple truth. What is understood softens. What is resisted hardens. And sometimes the first step toward understanding is quite literally a step. Walking becomes more than movement. It becomes a way of meeting sorrow without running from it. The wisdom of one step. When grief enters life, the future often becomes frightening. The mind races ahead, imagining years without someone you love, imagining all the moments that will never arrive. The weight feels unbearable because the mind is trying to carry an entire future at once. The Buddha gently redirected attention away from these imagined burdens and back toward direct experience. Not tomorrow. Not next year. This breath, this step, this moment of contact between foot and earth. A person walking through grief may discover something surprising. The sorrow remains, yet it becomes less overwhelming when attention settles into simple movement. One step follows another. The body knows what to do even when the mind feels lost. A tree survives winter not by forcing spring to arrive. It survives by remaining rooted through the season that is here. In the same way, walking meditation teaches the heart to remain rooted in the reality of the present moment. The grief may still be there, but now there is also a foot touching the ground. There is also breath moving through the chest. There is also life continuing one small step at a time. The earth receives everything. The wise do not force suffering away. They meet it clearly, and in that clarity, suffering begins to loosen. In many Buddhist traditions, walking meditation is practiced slowly enough that each step becomes a form of observation. The Buddha did not separate awareness from ordinary life. Every movement could become a doorway to understanding. when sorrow feels unbearable, the body often carries it like a hidden stone. The shoulders tighten. The stomach contracts. The breath becomes shallow. Grief settles into the body as much as the mind. Walking changes the relationship. Especially when practiced barefoot on grass, soil, or sand, each step becomes an act of contact. The earth receives your weight without complaint. It does not ask you to explain your sadness. It does not demand recovery. It simply supports you. There is something deeply healing in this simplicity. The Buddha encouraged direct experience because reality itself is often kinder than the stories we build around it. The mind says, "I cannot carry this." The earth quietly replies, "Take one more step." And somehow, for this moment, that is enough. Letting grief move. Many people unknowingly try to freeze grief. They hold it inside, afraid that if they truly feel it, it will consume them. Yet emotions are not meant to remain motionless. Like clouds crossing a sky, they naturally move when allowed. The Buddha observed that suffering grows when experience is grasped too tightly. Grief becomes heavier when we attempt to imprison it inside a fixed identity. We begin to think, "This sorrow is me." But sorrow is not a self. It is an experience passing through awareness. Walking meditation helps reveal this directly. As the body moves, emotions begin to move as well. Sadness may arise, anger may appear, regret may surface. Even moments of unexpected peace may emerge between waves of pain. Nothing is forced away. Nothing is held too tightly. Like leaves floating downstream, experiences are allowed to appear and disappear according to their nature. The Buddha's teaching was never about controlling life. It was about seeing clearly enough that control becomes unnecessary. And when grief is permitted to move, it often becomes less like a prison and more like a river finding its course. Returning to the body. One of grief's quiet effects is disconnection. The mind becomes lost in memory. It wanders endlessly through the past, replaying conversations, imagining different endings, searching for explanations that never fully satisfy. Meanwhile, the body is forgotten. The Buddha repeatedly guided attention back to direct experience because the body lives only here, only now. It cannot travel into yesterday. It cannot worry about next year. It simply breathes. Walking meditation becomes a return. The feeling of air against the skin. The rhythm of footsteps. The gentle rise and fall of breath. These ordinary experiences become anchors in a storm. A grieving person may not feel comfort at first. In fact, the return to the body can initially reveal just how much pain is being carried. Yet this honesty is part of healing. A wound must be seen before it can be tended. The Buddha never promised a life free from loss. He offered something quieter and perhaps more valuable. The ability to remain present even when life breaks your heart. And each time your foot touches the earth, the body remembers something the mind often forgets. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still part of life. Time becomes a path. When the mind stops chasing yesterday and tomorrow, it discovers the quiet freedom hidden inside this moment. After loss, time often feels distorted. The past becomes a place you revisit endlessly, searching for one more conversation, one more embrace, one more ordinary day that now feels priceless. At the same time, the future can seem empty. as though something essential has been removed from it forever. The Buddha noticed how suffering grows when the mind abandons the present and becomes trapped between memory and anticipation. Neither place can hold you. Neither place can support your feet. Walking meditation offers a different relationship with time. Instead of asking how long grief will last, attention returns to the next step. Instead of wondering when healing will arrive, awareness rests in the breath that is already here. The path becomes smaller, simpler, and strangely more manageable. A traveler crossing a mountain does not complete the journey by staring at the distant summit. The traveler arrives through countless ordinary steps, each one unremarkable on its own. Grief unfolds in much the same way. The Buddha's wisdom is not found in reaching some future state where sorrow disappears. It is found in learning how to inhabit this moment honestly, trusting that life knows how to move when it is no longer forced. Time stops being an enemy. It becomes a path beneath your feet, walking beside others. In some monasteries, practitioners walk together in silence. No one explains their pain. No one offers solutions. Yet something important happens. The simple act of moving side by side begins to soften the feeling of separation. Grief often convinces you that no one understands. The mind creates a private world where your loss appears different from everyone else's. Yet the Buddha saw that suffering is one of the deepest bonds shared by all living beings. Every person you meet has lost something. Every person carries invisible sorrows. Walking among others quietly reveals this truth. A mother mourning a child. A husband mourning a wife. A young person mourning a future that never arrived. Different stories, yet the same vulnerable heart. Like trees standing together during a storm. People often discover strength simply through shared presence. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be explained. The Buddha's path was never meant to be walked entirely alone. Even when words are absent, companionship reminds the heart that sorrow belongs to humanity itself. And when grief is recognized as part of the shared human experience, its isolation begins to loosen. You are carrying your pain, but you are not carrying it alone. The courage to return. After deep loss, there is often a temptation to withdraw from life. Not because you no longer care, but because caring feels dangerous. The heart begins to believe that closing itself might prevent future pain. The Buddha understood this impulse. He saw how fear creates contraction, how suffering can persuade us to abandon the very life we are trying to protect. Walking meditation becomes an act of gentle return. Each step is a quiet declaration. I am still here. I am still willing to participate in life. I am still capable of meeting this moment. This return rarely happens dramatically. It arrives in small ways. A walk through a familiar neighborhood. A conversation with a friend. The sight of sunlight filtering through leaves. Tiny moments that remind you the world continues to offer itself. A seed does not burst through the soil all at once. It emerges gradually, responding to light it cannot yet fully see. The Buddha's teaching invites the same trust. You do not need to force yourself back into life. You only need enough courage for the next step. The path unfolds beneath those who walk it. The body remembers belonging. What is held with awareness becomes lighter. What is carried with wisdom becomes part of the path. Loss can create a profound feeling of separation. You may feel separated from joy, from meaning, from other people, even from yourself. The world appears distant, as though a glass wall now stands between you and everything that once felt familiar. The Buddha continually pointed back toward direct experience because reality itself often reveals a deeper truth. As you walk, your breath joins the movement of the air around you. Your footsteps meet the same earth walked upon by countless generations. Birds call overhead. Trees bend in the wind. Clouds drift across the sky. Slowly, something becomes visible. Life has not abandoned you. You remain woven into it. The grief is real, yet it exists within a larger field of belonging. The earth does not reject you because you are grieving. The sky does not withdraw its openness because your heart is broken. Walking meditation allows this realization to emerge naturally. Not as an idea, as an experience. An experience has a way of reaching places words cannot. The Buddha taught that separation is often an illusion created by fear. Beneath that illusion is connection, waiting patiently to be rediscovered. The pilgrimage within. There comes a moment when walking is no longer merely exercise, therapy, or distraction. It becomes pilgrimage. Not a journey toward a distant destination, but a journey into the very center of your own experience. The Buddha spent years walking. Village to village, forest to forest, step after step beneath open skies. His path was not simply physical movement. It was continuous meeting with reality exactly as it was. Walking meditation carries the same spirit. The grief remains part of the journey, yet it no longer appears as an obstacle. It becomes one of the teachers along the road. Each step says, I will not run from this. I will not force it away. I will meet it with honesty. And something remarkable happens. What once felt unbearable begins to feel workable. What once felt permanent begins to reveal its changing nature. What once felt lonely begins to reveal connection. The Buddha's insight becomes visible not through belief, but through experience itself. The path is not separate from healing. The path is the healing. The teacher hidden in endings. After grief has softened enough to be carried, another truth often waits quietly beneath it. The truth that everything changes. Most people understand this intellectually. Yet the heart often lives as though permanence were possible. We build plans, identities, relationships, and expectations as though life has signed a contract promising they will remain. The Buddha looked directly at this habit. He saw that much of human suffering arises not because things change, but because we expect them not to. Walking meditation gradually reveals impermanence in the simplest possible way. Every step appears and disappears. Every breath arrives and leaves. Every sound rises and fades. Nothing remains fixed. The loss that brought you to this path is painful precisely because it exposes what was always true. Life is movement. Life is change. Life is letting go. Yet this realization is not meant to create despair. It creates tenderness. When you understand that every moment is temporary, you begin to value it differently. The ordinary becomes precious. A conversation, a shared meal, a quiet morning. The Buddha's wisdom transforms impermanence from an enemy into a teacher. And the teacher quietly whispers, Love fully because nothing stays. The preciousness of this breath. The fleeting nature of life is not a reason for fear, it is a reason to awaken. The Buddha encouraged contemplation of mortality not to darken life, but to illuminate it. When death remains hidden in the background of awareness, people often postpone living. They postpone forgiveness. They postpone gratitude. They postpone becoming fully present. There is always tomorrow. Or so the mind assumes. Yet every walk reminds you of a different truth. This step exists only once. This breath exists only once. This day exists only once. A dewdrop resting on a leaf glitters brilliantly because it will soon disappear. Its beauty and its fragility are inseparable. Human life is much the same. Walking with awareness reveals how precious ordinary moments truly are. The warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the sight of another human face. Nothing lasts. And because nothing lasts, everything matters. The Buddha did not ask people to fear death. He invited them to stop wasting life, to stop postponing presence, to stop waiting for a future version of themselves before they begin truly living. This breath is already enough. This moment is already enough. Setting down the burden of identity. Grief often shakes the stories you tell about yourself, the role you played, the future you expected, the person you believed you would always be. When loss arrives, these identities can fracture. And while this feels frightening, the Buddha saw something liberating hidden inside the experience. You are not the story. You are not the role. You are not even the collection of memories you call yourself. Like clouds forming and dissolving in the sky, identities constantly change. Yet awareness remains present through them all. Walking meditation makes this visible. With each step, experience continues unfolding whether the mind defines it or not. The earth supports you without asking for a label. The wind touches your skin without caring about your status, success, or history. There is tremendous freedom in this simplicity. The more tightly identity is held, the more fragile life feels. The more lightly it is held, the easier change becomes. The Buddha's path does not erase individuality. It softens attachment to it. And in that softening, resilience emerges naturally. You become less afraid of change because you no longer mistake temporary forms for permanent truth. Refuge in what cannot be lost. After seeing impermanence clearly, many people discover a new question arising. If everything changes, where can peace be found? The Buddha did not point toward possessions, achievements, or certainty. He pointed toward awareness itself. The capacity to meet experience with clarity and compassion. This becomes a refuge unlike any other. When circumstances shift, awareness remains available. When plans fail, awareness remains available. When grief returns unexpectedly, awareness remains available. Like the open sky holding every kind of weather, awareness can hold joy and sorrow alike. Walking meditation becomes a direct encounter with this refuge. Thoughts come and go. Emotions come and go. Sensations come and go. Yet something remains capable of observing it all. The Buddha invited people to trust this deeper stability. Not because it removes life's difficulties, but because it allows those difficulties to be experienced without becoming completely lost inside them. The refuge is not somewhere else. It is found in the simple act of seeing clearly. and clarity itself becomes a form of peace. Home in the path. The path is revealed not by arriving somewhere else, but by learning to be fully present where you already are. Eventually, a quiet realization begins to emerge. The goal was never to eliminate grief. The goal was never to become invulnerable. The goal was never to create a life free from loss. The Buddha's wisdom points somewhere far gentler, to a way of meeting life that does not depend on controlling it. As you walk, sorrow and gratitude may coexist. Love and loss may coexist. Strength and vulnerability may coexist. Nothing needs to be forced apart. Like rivers flowing toward the sea, all experiences are allowed to move according to their nature. And in that allowance, freedom appears. Not freedom from life. Freedom within life. The heart begins to trust again. Not because the future is certain, but because uncertainty no longer feels like an enemy. You understand that every being walks this path. Every being loves. Every being loses. Every being learns, step by step, how to carry what cannot be held forever. And perhaps that is the deepest realization of all. You were never separate from life. You were never walking alone. The earth has been beneath your feet the entire time. The breath has been with you the entire time. The path has been carrying you the entire time. And every quiet step has always been leading you home. This is Buddha Reflections, where philosophy, insight, and lived experience meet to explore mind, impermanence, and release. The conversation doesn't end here. Visit the quiz tab and share your score in the comments. Thanks for your time, it's been a delight. What should we explore next? Comment, share, and save your insight. Subscribe to Orbital Dharma and keep your thoughts bright.